Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on November 24th, 2021 at approximately 10:10 a.m. PST. Things are clearly, from my standpoint, changing. Okay, people are starting to put a little more effort into posting and reposting the positive things in life. Okay, and this is imperative. The last couple of years have been a virtual nightmare for a lot of people. Oddly enough, I found some benefit in it. Okay. Now, if we take a look at the last couple of years, everything, people have been doing really silly things in my eyes in the first place. The political system went sideways, the religious system collapsed badly, and we know this because we're seeing people walk away from religions or fracture a religion to make a new one or to make a new denomination of the same one. And this is what happens if laws do not apply to everybody. The society will fracture, and this is being shown time and again. The disappointing thing is I've seen this multiple times over the centuries. And yes, I have been watching. Sometimes I've been participating, usually in a bizarre fashion. See, I've got an advantage over some people. I remember and have documented a lot of my past lives. And here's the thing. Okay, when we start talking about documenting past lives, you can look at it and go, oh, that's just your imagination. And it's a viable point, considering I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons since I was 13. I've been dealing with alien races, technologies, interactions, abductions, that sort of thing since birth. I am a published author in 5 different genres. Okay, and I've just recently started getting those published through regular publishing companies. Okay, which is why the novel that I started writing back when I was 15 went to print last year, which, by the way, means it took a long time to come out. But this little book here, the original storyline, it is actually included in the back of it. Okay, was written when I was 15 years old. Okay, it's already available on Amazon. Okay, Amazon Author House, who's the company that's publishing it for me. Barnes and Noble, Indigo and Chapters. Okay, and of course, if you look at the list below this video, you'll see a whole lot of ways you can get a hold of me to order your own. To order directly from me and get a signed copy. Now, the neat part about it, from my standpoint, is that's only one of the projects I'm on. The sequel to that, I've got about 3 or 4 pages left to write, and then about 20 pages left for final edit, which means it will be going to print. Hopefully, I should have it ready to go to print by the end of this month, and it'll be available shortly thereafter on Amazon. Okay. But to me, this is a major step because I've got a whole list of things to do. But the first book, like I've told a lot of people, your first book is the easy one, realistically. The sequel tends to write itself, and it's the third one. It's always that third step that is the hard one to complete. Okay. Now, as I've said, I'm a spiritual guide, and the reason I call myself that is because I came to this world for one reason. Okay, for one primary reason. And that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world. Now, the thing is, am I some sort of major celebrity? Not even remotely close. Okay, well, I guess remotely. But then, remotely, Pluto's pretty close to Canada, which is where I am. If you look at it from a remote standpoint. But it's more like Beetlejuice to the solar system, which is where we are. Ultimately, we are looking at a situation where everybody is essentially the same. We're all born, we all go through situations, we all eventually die. Okay, It's not how you die that counts. It's how you live. That's how you leave your name behind, hopefully. There are many people that left their name behind in a negative fashion. But the ones people usually like hanging on to are the ones that are inspiring. And the one thing I would like to do, the one thing I do like doing, I've become very reclusive. Okay, I don't leave my house very much. But this doesn't mean I cannot have an impact. Okay, and I do like helping people. And this is why I say, if you've got comments, absolutely leave them in the comments below. If you've got questions in any field, don't care what it is. Okay, you can either leave the question in the comments below, or you can drop me a line at one of the contacts listed below, below this video. You can absolutely drop me a direct line, and I will do my best to get back to you as quick as I can. Okay, now, that said, okay, this idea of getting the world to work together, getting all entities to work together, this is not a job for one person. This is a job for all of us. And that's where you come in. Yes, absolutely. The first thing is to get your own life in order. Make sure you're happy here with the way your life is going. If you're not content, then it's time to start shifting things. And this is why I say one of the best ways that I've found, people go, well, where do you start? Where you start is right where you are, right at this moment. Because that's the one thing we all have in common. We are right here, right now, and you're the only one that can be successful for you. You can absolutely get guidance from anybody you choose. Okay, but ultimately, you're going to have to be the one getting up and doing the work. Okay, somebody that has troubles walking is not going to get better by somebody else doing the walking for them. Okay, it's like I've told people, work fascinates me. I can sit and watch it for hours. But it's not a good way to get anything accomplished. Net result, I can get myself a little overwhelmed, but, what the heck. But when we work together, and this is why gathering in groups, now bear in mind, in today's world, gathering in groups can be done via the internet. One of the few things that, in my opinion, technology has done well is connected people in a visual fashion when they are at a distance. Okay, now the reality of that is society has really, really pushed the limits on fear. Let's fear everybody around you. Let's fear all these other things. And let's do that real silly thing. And we're going to worship this. Okay, yeah, and yes, it is what it looks like. That's a $100 bill. In Canada, that's what they look like. Way too many people are worshiping this thing. Going, the money is the root of all evil. Well, here's the funny thing about this. In my opinion, this is a lot easier than dragging around a cow. And I don't have to feed this thing half as much. Okay, so from my standpoint, all money is simply a representation. It's a tool for bartering. Okay, it's an agreed upon amount, and I still can't figure out how they jump from the value in one country compared to the value in another. Now, I find it fascinating that when, I was looking at something the other day, and the internet does not have all the answers. It's got little snippets of information that can be taken way out of context. Okay, and I was looking at populations and what have you, and much more importantly, something caught my attention about the freest countries in the world. Now, the sad part is the countries that are held as being the leaders of the free world, the so-called first world countries, are not necessarily as free as what they're portrayed to be. Okay, keep that in mind. Right now we do have free will. We can do as we please, but we don't have freedom from the consequences of what we choose to do. Okay, Now, am I putting things out there? Certainly. Am I likely to upset some people? Absolutely. I was told one day, one person told me if you don't upset somebody, you're not speaking clearly enough. You know, yeah, I drink way too much coffee in a lot of ways, but even my nutritionist told me it's weak enough that it doesn't matter. It works out as flavored water, which ultimately is all coffee is. Now, when it comes to this idea of working together, find a unit, a group of people that have a like mind that make you feel better about you, that help encourage you to get up and do things. Now, the one thing that I will say in favor of the different churches is a concept they actually don't implement, but they did come up with it. Okay, and that concept is tithing, aka they say some religions say give what you can, some say give 10%, ideally give 10%. And I know some it's like they ask for way too much. My opinion on that, tithing itself, as in taking some of your money, what you can afford without damaging your life. Okay, this does not mean if you're a millionaire you should give all your money away. That's absolutely insane. I talk in percentages, meaning if you've only got $1 to spend, then you've only got 10 cents to work with. If you've got $100 to spend, then you've got $1. The more money you have, when you're working on percentages, the more money you have available to you that doesn't cut into your bottom line. Okay, like for me, okay, and I have to talk in terms of in numbers that I know. For me, running my house comfortably, and that means rent, utilities, food, insurance, transportation, clothing, all of that combined runs me about $2,000 a month, and I'm sitting really, really comfortable at that point. Now, the neat part about that is once I hit that $2,000 mark, everything over that is what I look at as far as what I take the 10% out of. Because that 10% over top does not do any damage to my income. None at all. Okay. And I have made a commitment to myself, and bearing in mind, not only do I have a job, I run my own business. And for those of you that have your own business, I strongly urge you to do what I'm doing. Join me on this little journey. Okay, I will be that number that I just gave you. I will be putting that aside for tithing for next year, for whenever I deal with it. Okay, and I do encourage you to do the same thing. If you're working from home, it's an overall, what's your income look like? If you've got a company that you've got its own building, then take a look at what it costs you to run that entire company and look at the bottom line. This is what it requires. Everything over that, I encourage you to do what I am doing next year. Okay. And that is take 10% of whatever comes in over that amount and use that to help your community. Now, with that said, will I be donating to a church? No. Will I be donating to a registered charity? Not a prayer. And here's why. Number one, from what I've seen, the church isn't doing what it should do at all anyway, for the most part. Now, you may have a parish or a temple or a church you're going to where they are helping the sick, the homeless, the hungry. You may work and be in one of those. And if you are, that is great. Thanks very much. Sadly, the majority of what I've seen don't. With the registered charities, their administration costs are exorbitant. And what I've found from the ones I've talked to is that, roughly speaking, the really good ones, you may get 30 cents on the dollar going to the people that need it. The rest goes to the charity itself. It doesn't go to the people that need it. So what I will be doing next year is I will be taking money to help individuals buy groceries, get a meal out, buy something for their kids or for themselves for that matter. Okay. where 100% of that donation, of that tithing, if you will go to the people directly. Now, granted, I won't be helping the people that are starving in Ethiopia. Okay. The ones that are local, that I know of personally, I may well end up helping. And yes, I realize there's this great big fallacy out there. Oh, they're on the ones on the street are all on the street because they want to be there. I have yet to find a war vet living on the street that wanted to be on the street. Okay, now I've always had a lot of respect for the people that decide to join the military. Okay, to protect their home, to protect their country, whatever the situation. Okay. Now, am I one to judge people? Not at all. I will stop and talk to somebody on the street, find out why they're there. And you might want to try that yourself because, quite frankly, what I found is a lot of the ones that are on the street are there not exactly by choice. I mean, technically, yes. I didn't want to get beaten every day by whoever. So I walked out. Okay. Now, that is by choice. They could have stayed home and continued getting the beatings. Personally, I think the walking out was a good idea. But many times you get so far behind the eight ball that you just can't get ahead of it. So with that in mind, okay, with that in mind, what I am finding is I'll go out and I did this a few years ago and it was the greatest feeling. And again, I encourage you, if you're a business owner or if you have to be an individual, just a standard person, I do encourage you to do this. It works like an absolute charm. Take a Christmas card, okay? All you do is write something in it to the effect of, best wishes or whatever greeting, whatever comment that you want to make. But in that Christmas card, okay, what I did a couple of years ago was I took, and I took, what was it? I took 5 that year. But what I'm thinking of doing is I think that next year I'm going to take 8. And the reason for that is 8 is the number of prosperity. It's the number of expansion. Okay, from a numerological standpoint. Now, here's the thing. I encourage you to do this. I did it a couple of years back when I had the money. And all you do is you take that card and you write whatever in it, put a $20 bill in it. Okay. Now, $20 is not much. Okay. I mean, if you're going to Starbucks regularly, quite frankly, it's 2 coffee, maybe 3. I don't go to Starbucks, so I just go on what people have told me. But you put cash in it. Not a business card, you don't have to advertise your company. All you're doing is certainly advertise your company like I do, where it's, all the best, may your fondest positive wishes come true from Inner Voice Enterprises. And then slap a $20 bill in it. It is not a tax deduction. Sorry, it's a gift. Okay, I haven't looked for a way for that to become a tax deduction because, frankly, I don't care. Okay, people out there, it is my personal opinion that the people that have the wherewithal to do it should be helping the people that don't have the wherewithal. Now, I watched it one day. I happen to have a fair chunk of money in my pocket, and I gave a gentleman, what I did was I gave him 2 5s, right? And he turned around. Now, he'd been on the street for a while, but he was clearly not in really good shape. So I gave him $10. And what did the young man do? He turned around and walked over to another chap he knew and handed him 5 of it. Okay, this is what I mean by work with what you have, but don't put yourself on the block. Now, the reality of it is the gentleman was already on the street. The $10 wouldn't get him off the street, but what he did was he took some of that little windfall he got and passed it on. So, inadvertently, I ended up helping two people. I helped the one that I knew directly. This is what I'm doing. And, the only thing I find out from them, if somebody is either lying to me about it, or I know that that they're going to be directly, and they're arguing the point, like they don't come out and say it, but they're going to go and drink it, or they're going to use it for drugs. I've only given somebody money once that I knew was going to drink it. But there was a long reason behind that, and the big thing was he had been very honest with me about what the problem was. Okay. He'd already gone through the AA program 4 times and was scheduled to go into AA again the 5th. This man was somebody doing his best to stay on top of the world. It wasn't working well for him, but at least he was honest with me. And for me, that's the big thing. Because, people have asked, well, how do you know if what I'm saying is just my imagination? I asked the same question. But, I asked the same question of a number of psychiatrists, a number of counselors and consultants. For years, I asked, how do you tell whether or not it's your imagination or whether it's real? And the only thing I've got to go on is the amount of corroboration I've got from other people about my past life memories, about people that have recognized me in specific terms, to the point that they brought it up. Okay, I have, I've got corroboration from things like missing time, relocation, abductions, near death. And in my case, it wasn't so much near death. The closest thing to a near death experience I had was I nearly got slid over by 3 semis. That was near death because I got out of that one without a scratch. But I'm one of the rare people that can honestly say, okay, can't prove it, it happened on a military base. At 5 years old, I was diagnosed dead. They shipped me to the morgue. I didn't agree, so I left. Okay, now, before anybody worries about that, I did not end up in a drawer. I was on a table. Fortunately, not an autopsy table. Okay, but that's a long story unto itself. Now, what I am encouraging people to do is really, if you're even a little bit above the line, don't just think of it in terms of money. Okay, I'm encouraging people to start a new pandemic. When you walk out of your house today, put a smile on your face. Whether you're happy, whether you're, just smile at people. It's easier to smile than you might think. And it's the one thing that nobody complains when they get one. They may make an odd comment if they're not usually comfortable with it. What are you smiling about? Okay. And you can come up with your own answer. I'm not the one for a diplomatic response. But I'd love to see the entire world start smiling at each other instead of starting to panic and screaming at each other for what they've lost. It's imperative at this point in time that we start focusing on what we have, on what we have gained. Now, you take a look at this whole pandemic thing. Okay, now, I am lucky in as much as I was reclusive a long time before this hit. But when they came out with the passport, okay, it was fantastic from my end because it stopped me from spending, well, in the last 2 months since they came out with it, I have saved almost $1,000 in grocery, in food bill at restaurants. Because for whatever reason, I could not bring myself to stop. But when they came out with the passport, that did it for me. So, from that standpoint, I'm quite happy about it. There is almost always something positive you can find in whatever's going on. Which is why I say, focus on the positive. Okay, maximize the positive, minimize the negative. Okay, by doing that, you'll find your life feels a whole lot better. It'll help drop the stress level around you. And the more focused you get on the things you are accomplishing, the happier you're undoubtedly going to feel. And I call it undoubtedly because I've seen this happen for years. I've been working in the consulting field publicly since I was 10 years old. Okay, which makes it 48 years ago. Okay, I started, let's see, 86, about 35 years ago. Okay, 35? 86? Yeah, 35 years ago, I started working professionally, as in generating an income by helping people deal with their personal problems, their business problems, okay, their alien issues. I started working about 35 years ago helping people with that. Not bad when you think I'm rather reclusive, but here's the thing. Okay, when you focus on the positive side of what you can accomplish and what you have accomplished, okay, instead of the negatives as to what you lost. For instance, when I got divorced, yeah, losing my marriage was definitely a blow. However, there was a bright side to it. I also left a staggering amount of junk behind that I didn't require. I was able to walk out and leave it all behind. And subsequently, because it didn't cure the problem, I went and bought a whole pile of new stuff. Not necessarily the wisest choice, but what the heck. So now what's happening is I'm looking at things now and getting all of that sorted out. Okay, and this big thing that I have been sent back to tell people is that we can make this a better world for virtually everybody when we work together. And I do mean everyone, every race, every element, every entity. And that's going to require your assistance. So, absolutely, I am asking you to join me on this journey, to jump in on the bandwagon, and let's get things focused, regardless of your religious or spiritual affiliation. Get on board. I'm not telling people what building to go and pray in, or what name to pray to. What I'm saying is, we're all doing essentially the same thing. Most people are trying to make their life better for themselves, which is normal. Okay, the trick is doing that without making other people feel worse. Because ironically, making somebody else feel worse is only a very tiny, short-lived feeling of feeling better. Then you get hit, whether you want to admit it or not, isn't relevant. Most of the people, they end up feeling remorse down the road for what they did. Now, yes, there are sociopaths that literally are not wired to feel remorse. Okay. There are narcissists that cannot bring themselves to comprehend what they're doing, whether or not it's causing a problem. Hence, the second rule, the second karmic law: do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Okay. Now, I honestly, when I was growing up, and even up until maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe, and I'm not good with time anyway, but I never looked at myself going, I want other people, I want people to look at me and go, this is what we can do. Something happened a couple of weeks ago, and I don't know what it was. I really don't. All I know is all of a sudden I got this issue of, it's time to start asking people to join me on this quest. Subscribe to the channel, okay, and pass on this message to people, to everybody you know. Okay, and I do mean strangers, friends, family, it doesn't matter. Tell the little dog walking down the street if you're more comfortable talking to dogs. Because oddly enough, they actually understand. They cannot speak English because, well, their vocal cords aren't built that way. But can they understand the feeling? Absolutely. So yes, I am absolutely asking you to join me on this journey. Okay, to subscribe to the channel, remember to hit the alert button so that when the next one comes up, that you get notified of it. Okay, but it's going to take all of us, and it is time to take the power back unto our own bodies. Okay, you have the capacity to alter your life for the better, for what you consider the better, regardless of where you are in life right now. Okay, and absolutely, if you're having trouble figuring out how to get that started, absolutely drop me a line. I will be more than happy to give you direction. Okay, for the first time in my life, I'm looking at this as it's time. I don't have to go out and see a crowd of people, which is great being the way I am. Okay, but if you ever do run into me in person, you'll find I'm pretty much the same way. Okay, except for the fact that I'm actually sitting down, if we're sitting down and talking, I don't talk quite as much with my hands. But, at least I don't think I do. Maybe I do. What I do know is that working together, helping each other when we've got the wherewithal to help somebody, helping each other is a good thing. And it does actually work. Now, the neat part about it is this year is coming to an end. Okay. And for me, there's a lot of things happening. Okay, like this is coming on 3 years since my major stroke. Well, they called it a minor. I was unable to speak, unable to walk. I call that pretty severe. Okay, but it will be 3 years on December 28th that I had the stroke. Since then, I've dropped a staggering amount of weight. Well, for me, okay, I'm down about 30 pounds from what I was. Okay, my blood pressure is down like 40 points. All in all, I'm feeling pretty good. You have the same capacity. And, if you take a look at many of these things, and I think I scrambled things here. I did. Yep, definitely got carried away. I will be back again tomorrow. I keep these around the half-hour mark. So, until tomorrow, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.